What's up YouTube, it's your boy RushMoreRick, and today we are back with another video. We are reacting to the 10 creepiest serial killers ever, true crime edition. Let's do it.
Number 10. The Corpse Collector. A Russian historian was caught after robbing the graves of 29 young girls and then taking their corpses home, where he turned the bodies into dolls. Anatoly Moskvin, 53, also expressed no remorse about his activities and refused to apologize to the parents of the deceased girls, claiming, "You left them in the cold. I took them home to keep them warm." The mummified remains of the girls were covered in masks, and he dressed them and applied makeup to them as well. One of the stranger aspects of this case, and there are obviously many, Moskvin actually shared his home with his parents. His parents told authorities they had absolutely no idea that he was collecting bodies and turning them into giant dolls. They just thought the large dolls were part of an unusual hobby. During the days of the Soviet Union, Moskvin worked as a translator for military intelligence. He went on after the collapse of the Soviet Union to write history books. He had a deep comprehension of biology and apparently of cemeteries.
There needs to be a study done about like these weird ass niggas and these, like, I would say he held a high position of power, but it's a lot of fucking weird ass people that do weird ass shit in these high ass positions of power, and it's like the people that work with them, like you ain't picking up on no weirdo activity. It's no way. Like, how you around somebody often, you work with them often, and it's kind of like there should be, especially if he's doing weird shit like this, serial killer shit, there has to be something. But then again, I don't know, because they do say a lot of serial killers nowadays, they average, they could be a neighbor. You know what I'm saying? They the average person. And a lot of people don't suspect it, but there has to be a study done about how these type of people usually get high positions of power or like good ass jobs. It's weird.
Over the years, he dug up many corpses, brought them home, dressed them in clothing, and kept them preserved in his own house. He even celebrated their birthdays with macabre parties. The Corpse Collector was captured in 2011 when he confessed to 44 counts of abusing graves. He was moved to a mental institution, and as recently as 2020, there were discussions of releasing him as his schizophrenia was reportedly cured. The judge in the case overturned the appeal, and he remains in custody.
W judge, because why is that even a discussion? What the fuck?
Number 9. The Soapy Killer. The Italian serial killer Leonarda Cianciulli was born in 1894. She got married in the 1930s, opened up a little shop in the small town of Correggio, and started selling soap. Leonarda's shop may have been doing all right, but the rest of her life at the time was filled with strife. She served a short jail sentence for committing fraud, her home was destroyed in an earthquake, and she was constantly battling with her parents about her marriage, which they didn't approve of. Not only that, but Leonarda was experiencing major fertility issues. She'd been pregnant 17 times.
17 times? With nothing to show for it? Damn. Maybe she had a right to crash out.
But of the 17 children, 3 died due to miscarriage, and 10 died during early childhood. She became incredibly superstitious about her children, and also became more deeply interested in fortune-telling, palm reading, and tarot, a childhood interest of hers. It was during a meeting with another fortune-teller who predicted her remaining 4 children would also die that she was told that the only way to prevent her still living children from dying was to start sacrificing people. Leonarda was frightened, but she didn't start the human sacrifices right away. However, in 1939, her son told her he was joining the military. This pushed Leonarda into action, and she began luring women back to her soap shop and killing them in an effort to keep her surviving children safe. How did she kill these women, and what did she do with them? That's the true horror of it. She first tricked the women into going into her shop by promising to tell their fortune or offering to help them find whatever they were looking for, including telling one victim she could help them find a husband. She drugged her victims with spiked wine, then she killed each woman with an axe and boiled their body in caustic soda. She then used her victims' flesh and fat to make soap that she sold in her store. She gave these bars of soap to her neighbors, her friends, and anyone who would pay for them. She also used some of her victims' fat to make cakes, which she ate. But her killing spree ended after just the third victim. A witness saw the victim going into her soap shop and then never coming out. When police went to investigate, she confessed everything and was arrested. Number 8. Food for workers. In the United Arab Emirates, a Moroccan woman went seriously off the deep end. Back in 2018, she suffered a fit of insanity in which she killed her boyfriend of 7 years and then cooked him. According to a report from the BBC, her boyfriend had been planning on leaving her. He was actually planning to marry a different woman from Morocco, and this naturally upset the unnamed killer. Feeling like a thrown-away piece of trash, she murdered her boyfriend, cut him into pieces, ground up his flesh in a blender, and turned him into a traditional Moroccan dish with rice.
I feel like a lot of women are fucking crazy. Like, I feel like if you push the right woman, like, to that point to do some shit like this, I feel like a good majority of them are capable of doing something so, like, sadistic like this. Like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like chopping somebody up and then feeding them, whether it's to themselves or to somebody else, I feel like that's a woman thing. Like, you don't hear a lot of men criminals doing that.
Chopping vegetables.
Chopping their victims up and then just, like, unless you a Jeffrey Dahmer type nigga, but that nigga's 101. Ain't really been a Jeff Dahmer since Jeff Dahmer, you know what I'm saying?
She then took the dish to some nearby Pakistani construction workers and watched them eat it. This part of the killing goes beyond unwarranted. The construction workers were made to eat a person without their knowledge and were likely completely horrified. Why she went to this extent of horror is beyond understanding. It was the murdered boyfriend's brother who ended up solving the case. When he went looking for his missing sibling, he found a single tooth sitting in a blender in the woman's house. He phoned the police, DNA tests confirmed the tooth belonged to the victim, and she broke down and confessed.
What made him check the blender? Like, that's some serious, like, the Lovely Bones type intuition where you just, I know you did something. I know you did something foul. So I'm looking for I'm checking the blenders, I'm checking the trash, I'm checking the garbage chute, I'm checking the sink drain. You know what I'm saying? I'm checking every little thing because I know that you did it. And once he found that tooth, granted, he lost his brother. He ain't getting his brother back, but it was like, I know he felt good. Like, I could finally prove that I knew, like, all along, I knew it was this bitch. You know what I'm saying? But that's insane.
Last we heard,
that's some good-ass intuition.
Sent to a mental hospital. Number 7. Ed Gein's furniture of horror. When it comes to killers who made a career out of crafting things from the remains of their victims, Ed Gein holds the title of most creative. When the authorities raided Ed's house back in the 1950s, they found so much horror that it's hard to even describe. Ed had a fascination with decapitation, necrophilia, and arts and crafts. He started out as a fairly ordinary resident of Plainfield, Wisconsin, but when his mother died, he really went off the rails. He had been oddly obsessed with his mother and didn't seem able to process the fact that she was gone. In the mid-1950s, when Ed was alone and confused, residents of Plainfield began going missing. By 1957, the police had linked Ed to both Mary Hogan and Bernice Worden, both of whom had vanished. When the police went into Ed's house, they found suits, lampshades, and chairs made from human skin, masks made from people's faces, a belt crafted of human nipples, and several human organs.
What pushes a person to do this shit? Like, not once, not twice, but like multiple times. How do you get off on this, like, the sick shit like this? I don't get it. And then to have the shit around you, you know what I'm saying? Like, some people do fucked up bad shit and then they don't even want it around them because they don't want to be reminded of the fucked up shit that they did. But a lot of these people, they, you know what I'm saying, they treated this like memorabilia, like shit that, like trophies on the wall.
Organs stuffed into jars. Not only had Ed been killing multiple local women, he had also been digging up graves at the nearby cemetery, using the bodies of the recently deceased in his arts and crafts experiments. The man who is credited as being the inspiration for the killer Buffalo Bill in the movie Silence of the Lambs, was later found guilty of murder and criminally insane. He died in captivity in 1984. Number 6.
Rightfully so.
Old Lady Killer. Ed Gein may have been one of the most notorious serial murderers, but Juana Barraza Samperio is a criminal mastermind. She is currently spending the rest of her days locked up in the Santa Marta de Acatitla prison in Mexico. The reason for her incarceration? She killed at least 48
They put that bitch where El Chapo at. What the fuck?
people. She's known as the Little Old Lady Killer. When still living on the outside, she spent her days selling popcorn and occasionally fighting in wrestling matches. The rest of her time, she was hunting and killing elderly women. According to the Mexican authorities, Juana killed nearly 50 people in Mexico City between the 1990s and January 25, 2006. She only got caught when a neighbor witnessed her leaving the scene of a crime. Although the cops couldn't get evidence for every murder, they did manage to pin her in 17 of them.
See, and I guarantee, like, when you start, you know what I'm saying, when you start getting away with murder, I'm assuming, because I've never murdered anybody, but you got to treat the idea of it as a regular crime, like stealing or, you know what I'm saying, shit like that. When you start to steal and you become good at it, sometimes it becomes like a second nature thing where you're not even trying to be cautious anymore. You're just doing it, and you're doing it so proficient because you know that you're able to get away with it. Shit, she did it 49 other times. She only got caught on the 50th murder. You know what I'm saying? So the 49 times, every time you get away with it, you just get less and less cautious. You get less, and this is not me coaching you on, though. If you don't want to get caught, keep being cautious. No, nigga, stop murdering people with your murdering ass. You murdering ass murderer. But it's a common theme with a lot of these serial killers where they just start to get sloppy. And my whole thing is, one, why are you murdering in the first place? Two, what the fuck? You're supposed to, you know, do what you do. Let me stop for the FBI be fucking looking at me like I'm out here coaching killers.
These 17 murders alone earned her 759 years in jail. During her trial, it came out that Juana was a psychopath incapable of feeling remorse. She actually thought she was helping society by getting rid of elderly women, likely because of the trauma she experienced in her own childhood. When Juana was just a young girl, her mother would trade her to dangerous men for things like beer and cash. When she grew up, she took that hate of her mother and transformed it into something evil, lashing out at older women, perhaps because they reminded her of her mother. And now for a serial killer, Santa. But first, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We have more true crime.
Yeah, make sure y'all subscribe to RushMoreRick. Like, comment, and follow.
Come outgoing, friendly, and even jovial. He had white hair, a white beard, and played the perfect Santa Claus at the Agincourt Mall in Toronto as recently as 2016. He was a 66-year-old landscaper who posed as Santa during the holidays, and it seemed that he loved children. What no one knew was that Bruce had a bizarre attraction to the dead. Not only did he have an obsession with dead bodies, but he was also a serial killer. As a landscaper, Bruce used his cover to bury the bodies of his victims in his customers' gardens. While his clients thought he was simply creating beautiful landscapes, he was actually turning them into secret graveyards. Between 2010 and 2017, Bruce MacArthur murdered 8 men that we know of. His targets were the homeless, the destitute, and immigrants in the predominantly gay neighborhood of Church and Wellesley. Bruce's method of killing is what will really give you chills. Strangulation was his preferred method. He would wrap a rope around his victim's throat, then use a metal bar to tighten the ligature. Once his victim had stopped breathing, Bruce would then do a photo shoot. He would dress up his victims in things like fur coats, sometimes positioning them as if still alive, with one victim even photographed with a cigar hanging out of his mouth. When Bruce was finally caught by the police, authorities in Toronto had to check out 75 properties in search of remains. Bruce had concealed many victims in the planters and gardens he had worked on as a landscaper. How do you think you'd react if the police told you they needed to inspect your yard?
I'd be pissed. Because one, am I getting a refund? Am I getting some type of money back? Because this nigga and I'm assuming he did good work. He got a lot of clientele. Y'all about to come in and fuck up this work that I paid for. Somebody got to reimburse me. Somebody got to come put, you know what I'm saying, after y'all done digging shit up and it's fucked up that you, like, why are you going to put dead bodies on my property? You got me looking like, you know what I'm saying, I'm in it with you. Nah, nigga, I'm not. But at the same time, somebody either got to reimburse me or somebody got to come do this shit free of charge. Because I'm not paying again. No, I'm not.
Hard for human remains.
Nah.
Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Number 4. The Torso Murders. From 1935 to 1938, between 12 and 13 bodies were found dumped in Cleveland's Kingsbury Run. The area is a creek bed that runs through the city down to the Cuyahoga River. The victims included at least 7 men and 5 women, most of whom were unhoused or sex workers. These unfortunate people were living far below the poverty line in the days when Cleveland was still suffering from the impacts of the Great Depression. Most of the individuals weren't reported missing for months after their disappearances, sometimes not even until their bodies were found. What makes these murders especially disturbing was the fact that every single body was found without a head or limbs. The only parts of the remains that turned up were the torsos of the victims. After over 80 years, this is still the most gruesome crime spree in the history of Cleveland. The killer is known today as the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run, and believe it or not, he or she has never been identified by the police. The killings only stopped when the killer presumably lost interest, moved, or died. Even years after the torsos stopped turning up, authorities still were unable to locate all the heads. To this day, no one knows what the Mad Butcher did with the heads and the limbs of their victims. Number 3. The Bone Collector. In Mexico...
Why do y'all think that last guy stopped? I don't think he died. I think he ran into the right one. You know what I'm saying? There's only so many times a killer could get the upper hand on somebody until they run into that person that's going to fight back. That person that's not going to sit in their tracks and just stare at you out of fear and just let you do whatever the fuck you want to do. Nah, bitch, you going to try to take my life, we both going to die. You cut off a limb, I cut off a limb. You try to chop my head off, I'm chopping your head off. Somebody got to go first, and it ain't going to be me, and I feel like he ran into that person.
Authorities recently discovered approximately 3,787 bone fragments that they say belong to at least 17 different murder victims. The killer in this story was a bone collector. He had a fascination with killing and dismembering. The Mexican authorities have not been able to release his identity, but they do say that by the time they caught up to him, he was 72 years old. The cops actually arrested this serial murderer in connection with the killing of a 34-year-old woman whom he reportedly cut up with a hacksaw. It was when they began looking at his home that they discovered the true scope of his crimes. During careful excavations, the police found the bones and bone fragments, as well as 91 photographs, 8 cell phones, a bucket full of women's jewelry, and actual videotape of the man murdering his victims. He had been dismembering his victims, cutting them up so small that he had pieces of them hidden all throughout his house. The police were shocked and horrified when they realized the extent of the crime scene. As of right now, the police are still trying to extract DNA from the bone fragments to identify the victims, many of which are probably missing people. In the meantime, the identity of this prolific serial murderer has still not been released. Number 2. Human burgers. Joe Metheny, much like Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy, was a truly gruesome killer. But for some strange reason, despite the horror of his crimes, he is not as well known. If you're one of those people who haven't heard of him, get ready to be shocked. Joe was arrested in Baltimore back in December of 1996. At the time, police knew he was responsible for at least 3 murders. But after he was convicted of these murders, he finally spilled the beans that he killed at least 10 people. He also admitted that he was a cannibal, and that he served his victims to unsuspecting patrons of his burger stand. He would take the meat from people he killed and mix it with pork or beef, or simply use it as it was. And shockingly enough, Joe told the authorities that not a single person could seem to taste the difference between regular burgers and those made with his victims. Joe was...
You sick fucking, And that's what throw me off about, like, you know what I'm saying? That's when you go out to eat and you go into fast food places and you go into different establishments, you never really know what you're eating. That's why a lot of people, I feel like when we go out to eat, we don't try to think about it as much. We don't think about the people that's making our food. We don't think about the factories that our meat is coming from, the distribution plants that are packaging our meat. We don't know if they putting 100% beef in it, like 100% animal beef, or it could be a mixture of just fucked up mush. It could be some human remains. Like, you never really know. And then for him to sit here and say that nobody can tell the difference between human burgers and regular beef burgers, dumbass, because it's not just humans out here. Oh, all right, yesterday we had beef, tomorrow let's go try humans. What the fuck? No, we're not doing that. So of course we ain't gonna taste the difference, because we out here trusting niggas like you who is making our food. This kind of would make, like, when you think about the process of going out to eat, it kind of make you not want to do it, because you truly never know what the fuck is in your food, bro. You never know.
Was given several life sentences to be served continuously.
Shit like this be so dirty to me.
Of parole. Since his arrest, however, he has repeatedly begged for the death sentence.
No, get out of jail free card. We're not bailing you out. No, nigga, you're going to suffer behind bars. I feel like that punishment is worse than death. Constantly waking up behind bars in a jail cell, remembering the shit that you did that got you there, that's worse than death. Do not bail this nigga out. If I was a jury, 9 times out of 10, if a person was constantly begging for the death penalty, no, I'm going to keep you alive, because obviously you don't want to live with what you did. You don't want to be reminded of the actions that you did. So I'm going to allow you to be reminded. Or, you know what I'm saying, some people, they get in jail, they do shit that end up resulting in getting their lives taken. And if that's the way you want to go out, you could go out. But I ain't signing off on no suicide. No little sissy needle with that murders you. Nah, nigga. You in this shit for life, right? Let it be for life.
In an interview, Joe told the press that the only thing he regrets about his killing spree is that he was caught before he had the opportunity to kill the 2 people he really wanted, his ex-girlfriend and the guy she replaced him with. Number 1. Boyfriend stew. Catherine Knight killed her boyfriend and then turned him into a stew. For this bizarre crime, she became the first Australian woman to receive a life sentence without parole. The terrible murder came after a lifetime of toxic relationships. Catherine's life and relationships were plagued with abuse, violence, and frightening fits of temper. In 1995, she moved in with John Price, the man who she would eventually murder. According to friends and family, she had wanted to marry him, but John declined. When he refused to get married, Catherine turned violent. In 2000, the pair argued, and Catherine tried to stab him in the chest. Price had to get a restraining order against her, but they later reconciled. Price, however, would not let Knight move back into the home in order to protect his 2 older children. On February 29, 2000, she let herself into John's house, seduced him in the middle of the night, and once he was asleep, she stabbed him 37 times. Catherine then went downstairs, dragging his body behind her. She hung him from a meat hook in the living room, one of the tools of her trade as a butcher, removed his head, then cooked up a meal using his body, along with potato and pumpkin, some squash, and a bit of gravy that she intended to later serve to John's children. After Catherine finished cooking her lover, she took John's headless body and lay down with it in bed. She swallowed a whole bunch of pills and fell asleep. When the police arrived the next morning at the behest of John's co-workers, who were worried because he didn't show up to work, they found Catherine covered in blood, John's body, and the remnants of her macabre meal. She claimed to have no memory of what she had done, but was charged and convicted of murder nonetheless. Thanks for watching.
Sick people out here. Sick people. But that was the video. 10 creepiest serial killers ever. Make sure y'all like, comment, and sub. I got tons of videos on the channel. Binge the videos. I rock with y'all. Y'all rock with me. I love y'all. Y'all love me. Let's do it. Let's grow together. We out. Deuces.